Hi folks, welcome to thepreparedhomestead.com. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yes, we're getting the winter stuff finally. The temperature's dropping, but the precipitation's not too bad yet. We're supposed to get much more, I think, Sunday, so it's yet to come, but the temperature itself is definitely come down quite a bit over the last few hours. And I assume that most of you, or many of you, might be experiencing similar things. Just kind of getting yourselves ready. I mean, it's going to get cold if it's not already there, and you're going to have some bad weather in many places. So certainly stay on top of that and be prepared for bad weather, because we got to do that just because. The world may end and it may not, but the bad weather, it always comes and goes. Speaking of the world ending, maybe it's getting closer than you think. After last night's little show of force with the United States and the United Kingdom doing bombing runs in Yemen against the Houthis, the new year is bringing much more fun. Today, Citibank, U.S. Citibank, announced that they're cutting 20,000 jobs. Because they're not making any money, I guess. I don't know. They're cutting jobs. Bank of America may be the big bank that collapses this year. Bank of America has reported this last quarter, just in one quarter, almost $100 billion in losses. $100 billion in losses in one quarter. Their stock has already dropped. A lot of things going on in that arena that's not looking good when it comes to banking, financial, money, that kind of stuff. So what does that mean for you and I? Well, it just means that we got to get more serious. These things are going to happen, okay? The momentum has already been building, right? It's not really any longer a what if. If these things happen, if this falls apart, it's happening now as we speak because of all the stuff that's been leading up to it. And so we have to continue to prepare and get ready for this. This is where it's really going to become critical for folks to kind of pull themselves together, find other like-minded people, work together, train together, help each other out. And I know that there's so many of you that say you're the lone wolf and you're not interested in that. And I'm not telling you you're wrong, but that just because you have your opinion doesn't mean that what I'm saying is wrong either. People need to work together, and it's going to get bad so that's about all you're going to have. You don't want to run off to the government and depend upon them. You don't want it showing up in your area, and so the more prepared you can get folks in your area, the less likely you're going to see all the big alphabet agencies showing up and telling everyone what they can and can't do and where they need to go. Some of that can't be avoided. I understand that, but I think some of it can be. And we've seen that in past disasters around the country, and what we're facing may in some way work itself out similar. And what I mean by that is that places that are remote, places that kind of are taking care of themselves, that's not crying for help and stuff, tend to kind of get left alone. Out here where I'm at during the whole COVID thing, I've talked to local officials that say that they heard nothing pretty much from the federal government. They weren't getting any kind of assistance or even guidance. They just kind of did whatever they wanted because, well, that's the way it should be anyways, and they had no one to help them do any otherwise. That's actually a good thing. That's one of the reasons why I like living in these very rural areas. There's a downside to it. There are certain services that aren't available. There's just certain things that you don't have. But it also means those things that you don't have include big government, and trying to find a place that's like this, and there's many of them across the country, is going to be very important for a lot of you. And I know that it is, and I know that you're working towards that. I'm just here to tell you that you need to work faster. You need to up your speed, okay? If you have plans of maybe doing this move in a year or two from now, that may not work, folks. It could. Hopefully you're correct and you'd be fine, but you may not. And so you need to kind of push yourself along a little further. The amount of just rapid progression at this point of things happening I think it's becoming pretty obvious that the direction we're headed. How fast are we going to get there? How dramatic, how big of a bottoming out is it going to be? That still remains to be seen. But I think it's pretty apparent that that's the direction that we're headed. Now with an escalation, let's say an escalation in global war affair type things. Here we are involved in another conflict. Is this going to continue to expand? Most likely. Many of the opposing side in the Middle East is saying that they will. The Yemenis, they've released statements that they're not going to slow down, that they're now all U.S. and British ships and planes are targets. Everything. They're gonna unleash themselves. Now I know that's not terribly scary, speaking of them, but still, it's just an escalation. And at some point, will Iran get involved, or at least more involved through its proxies? Probably. We've already seen oil prices go up today. Are they going to continue to go up? Probably. As things heat up in the Middle East, they typically do. We're watching more and more nations want to side with Russia and China, with the BRICS agreement. Even nations that's been favorable to us and that's been allies with us are starting to warm up to the idea of siding with them. We have a massive amount of people coming into this country every day. Millions and millions. Did you see that report that the Texas National Guard has kicked out? I don't know how true this is and all the details, but according to the news, the Texas National Guard has kicked out the Border Patrol from a certain area along the border because they said that they are repeatedly assisting illegals in coming across the border. They're cutting fences, they're helping them. We've all seen those videos. We know that part's true. But now the Texas National Guard has said that you're no longer allowed. You can't come here. So while that's a good thing for the most part, it also means that we're seeing the lines divide even further. And could we see some type of conflict, civil conflict here in the United States arise because of that? Very possible. Same thing with the election. All the stuff going on and the tit for tat and back and forth with the election. It's a huge big old crock pot of a mess that's just heating up here in the United States. And don't take this line down. Don't just get caught off guard and think that whatever you've done so far is adequate. Don't be adequate when it comes to this. Be prepared. Get yourself ready. Work on your community, meeting other people around you. Get involved especially if you live in a rural area. You'd be surprised how many people that might be involved in some kind of little small community organization in a rural area would be very like-minded to what you're saying, and that may be a way to meet other people and talk to your neighbors, the ones that would be sympathetic that you can talk to about this, and come up with a plan of how to be prepared when things fall apart. When a certain percentage of the illegals coming across the border start doing bad things. If the grid goes down, the mainstream news and the federal government just today have been warning, last night and today have been warning that because of the increased attacks in the Middle East, it could cause sleeper cells to activate here in the United States. And wouldn't it be a horrible thing if they activated and started attacking the grid right now when most of the country is experiencing some frigid cold temperatures and then the power goes out? Not a good sign, not a good thing to happen. And so we have to be prepared for these kind of things. We have to have a plan. What are you going to do? If it's going to be 10 degrees tonight, 20 degrees, 5 degrees, 0, whatever it is, what are you going to do when the power goes out? Do you have a plan for that? Do you have a plan to keep lights on or to cook or to stay warm? Do you have a backup? Do you have a backup to your backup? These are things that we need to be doing because the intensity of the change and the reset and all the things that's going on, it's getting more and more, okay? It's becoming quite apparent, and we have to be ready for that. Folks, this is serious. It's not panic time. It's not fear and get frozen and everything and all the fear that's happening. We don't live in fear. We live in the state that we understand that we're prepared for this. We may not have everything figured out, but we certainly have more figured out than most people. And so that puts us much higher level above everyone else when it comes to being ready for things to happen. So keep doing that. Keep watching what's going on. But most of all, get yourself, your family, and your community ready, your tribe, your team, whatever it is, because yeah, it's looking like we're heading down that way pretty good, and all the predictions and stuff of 2024 being the big one and it all happening, it's all starting to look like it's much more likely. Folks, get your houses in order, prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.